Hi, I'm Jonathan Eder, and this is the piano lesson. Welcome back. Hope you guys had a good week. Spring's here. Getting some nice weather hopefully soon. Still cold, still rainy. We're still indoors practicing piano, okay? But we will eventually be enjoying the summer weather. One of my favorite subjects to talk about, and I think of a subject that needs discussion because very few people seem to be discussing it, but the issue of tetrachords. So groupings of four notes, very ancient concept, many thousands of years old. But understanding music, giving it meaning and making it manageable. You know, meaning is one thing that artificial intelligence doesn't have. Artificial intelligence has no concept of meaning, right? Human beings have a concept of meaning, whatever that is. But this group of notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, that has a lot of meaning in music. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That has a lot of meaning to us. So let's take a look at what that looks like when you write it down, when you notate it. Here's our notation: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and that constitutes a major scale, or C major scale, but each one of those is a tetra, T-E-T-R-A, a tetrachord, a group of four notes, and this is a really important point. The lower and upper notes are both have the same distance. They are what we call a perfect fourth, okay? So that's important, and because they're not overlapping, each of these fourths are what we describe as disjunct, disjunct. They are disjunct tetrachords. Now, those are just really important to know because the lower tetrachord, okay, the first four notes of the C scale, that's the last four notes of the F scale. And the last four notes of the C scale are the first four notes of the G scale. And guess what? When you complete the G scale, you also form a tetrachord, okay? So that's pretty cool. They are building blocks. These are the building blocks of music. And you should get excited about them. This is the way to learn music, okay? Now, some people, particularly one person in particular named Barry Harris, who's a great jazz pianist who recently passed away, he felt very strongly that the scale was missing a note and that we should have an extra note. And what was that extra note? Well, the extra note is a G sharp, okay? I'm calling it a G sharp for a very deliberate reason. But it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes in that tetrachord. But rhythmically it seems to want to change. So we could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a new measure if we had, like, say, 4 counts and a measure in quarter notes for 1 count. Now, each of those notes, okay, implies a chord, all right? And the first note in the key of C would be a C chord. Tonic, the next chord would imply the dominant chord, G. Right? 1, 5, 1. That's oh, my head popped in there. That's a very basic idea of music. 1, 5, 1, 5, 1. Right? C, G, C, G, C. Now, what happens here? We have the why did I put the sharp there? That was kind of dumb. That was really dumb. Good grief. What's happening? Let's move this over a bit. G sharp, okay, A. There we go. That's what we want. Thank you very much. A, B. So G sharp, that's the extra note. A, B, and then C. So C, G, C, G, C, E major, A minor, G, C, that moment there in the music, when you get to that G sharp, that is the dominant chord of the relative minor. It's the dominant. Thank you. A-N-T. Boy, what's happening today? The dominant of A minor. And it's called a secondary. It's a secondary dominant. Why secondary? Because the primary chord is C, and the dominant in that primary the primary chords are C and G, and the dominant in the primary key is G. That's the dominant chord. This is the tonic. Okay, those are the primary chords, but those aren't the only keys we go to. It's very common to go from C, as an example, to A minor. That's called a relative, and they share a key signature. And what's a key signature? Well, it's the thing that you write at the beginning of the music. If you see at the beginning of the music, and there's a clef, okay, and there's a time signature, but usually there's sharps and flats at the beginning. Sometimes there's sharps and flats. In this instance, there's no sharps and flats. They share keys, but the exciting thing is that we can change key. So it's 1 2 1 5 1 5 1 5 of 6 6 5 1. So E is 5 of 6, and the A minor is 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6. That's the 6. Okay, that's the basic theory that we're talking about. Okay, so that is the really interesting thing, that just adding that one note kind of opens up possibilities. It opens up possibilities harmonically, and it opens possibilities up rhythmically. So that was, now Barry Harris has a slightly different harmonization. He uses a 6 chord. So instead of C major, he uses C6. And instead of the G7, he uses a diminished chord. That's a diminished. Jazzier, sounds more colorful. Well, it is more colorful, okay? But never lose sight of how that diminished chord functions. This is C6. Why 6? Because of the extra note. 1 2 3 4 5 6. C major with the 6. There's your diminished chord. D, F, A flat, and there's the B there, okay? If I put a G in the bass, well, we have really all the notes we need to make a G chord, actually. We have an F, and we have a B, okay? And, all right, the D is there too. That helps. But the A flat adds a little bit of dissonance. That's referred to as an alteration. It's the 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. The A is the 9th, and if we flatted it, would be a flatted 9, and that's kind of jazzy. So that's why the C6 diminished, 6 diminished, 6 diminished. Still technically a 6, but it sounds more like, it functions more as an A minor 7, the inversion of the C6. Diminished and 6. All right, but the basics, 1 5 1. That's the thing everybody learns. Now, here's another little fun fact about what is that scale? What is that scale called? I don't know. I forget. But it's got an extra note in it. So they call it the diminished 6 scale because it's got a 6 in it. I don't know. If I take the notes of that scale, okay, and I use the exact same notes but in a different order, and I start with A instead. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G sharp, A. Not bad pitch, huh? Okay. That scale is the relative minor of C. How do you figure out a relative minor? Well, you take the notes of a major scale and you play the exact same notes, but you start on the 6th note, or you can go down 3 notes. You end up on the same note, which is A. That's what they mean by relative, okay? If we went from C major to C minor, that's different. That's called parallel, but the relative, all right? They share the key signature. There's no sharps or flats in the key. Now, if we exclude the G sharp, that's called a natural minor. Why natural? Well, because all of the notes in the scale can be found in the key signature. You can still have natural minor scales that have sharps and flats in them, but we're not necessarily adding any other notes. If I add the G sharp, though, that's what we call an artificial scale. It's an artificiality, and it forms the harmonic, Harmonic, the harmonic minor, right? Harmonic minor scale, and that scale is functions so that we can have that dominant chord. That E major chord has to have that G sharp. Otherwise, it wouldn't sound right. A minor, E minor, A minor is perfectly fine, but it doesn't function musically. That's really what we want. And we invoke that G sharp only when we need it. Okay, it's not in the key signature. It's written as an accidental. So, and in order to figure out the minor scales, okay, you can use your knowledge of tetrachords. So here again, we'll look at the natural minor scale, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, all right? So there's your 2 tetrachords, okay? And there's your perfect fourths, both your disjunct perfect fourths, okay? And if you examine the pattern here, the first 4 notes, A, B, C, D, all right? That's a whole step, a half step, and a whole step. A whole step, a half step, and a whole step. A whole step being 2 half steps, and a half step being the very next distance to a note. And again, up here, this tetrachord is a little different. It's a half step. It starts with a half step first, a half, and then a whole, and then a whole again. Different filling in the middle, okay, but the crust is the same, okay? The pie crust is the same, but the filling is a little different. That's what makes the natural minor scale. If I made this note, rather than G natural, if I made it G sharp, okay, all right, that interval changes from a whole step, from a major second to an augmented second. So that's the difference. It's a cool sound. We typically don't use that sound to make melodies, which is why we call it a harmonic minor scale, because it's used to make harmonies. All right. There is a scale that we use to make melodies. It's a little different, and it's called, big guess, it's a melodic minor scale, and that melodic minor scale sounds like E, F sharp, G sharp, A. That little bit there, this is a whole step and a whole step and a half step, a little different, but that is a major, that's a major tetrachord. It's the first 4 notes of the E major scale. Thing about those scales, this is the melodic minor, right? And there's 3 minor scales. And the thing about the melodic minor scales, it's typically used melodically. So we typically only use it going up, ascending. We usually only just going up, ascending. We don't use it descending. Why? Well, because it'll sound major going down. We don't want that sound. You know, we typically want this going down, we want natural going down. And we typically don't use natural minor scales because those don't function melodically and they don't function harmonically. They're just kind of like the basic ingredients of the minor sound, but they still need to be modified. So there are of the 3 minor scales. Okay, of the 3 minor scales, one is natural, all right, And the other two are artificial, like artificial intelligence. They're artificial. And those are the, again, the harmonic and the melodic. And they're artificial because we add accidentals. Accidentals are not in the key signature. They're not in the key signature, okay? So you can make all three of these scales, okay, including the major scale, and all you need to do is know 4 different tetrachords, and those 4 tetrachords all have the same thing in common. What do they have in common? They have the perfect fourth, okay? They have we say B-O-U-N-D, they're bound by the perfect fourth. So the major is whole, whole, half. The minor is whole, we'll write it down, we'll write it this way, I'll put this over here. The minor is whole, half, whole. The harmonic is half, augmented second, and then half again, right? And the melodic is, what did I say? Yeah, that's the minor, the harmonic, right? And then the 4, oh, I'm getting a little confused here. The 4 tetrachords, the Phrygian, P-H-R-Y-G-I-A-N, the Phrygian tetrachord is half, whole, whole. The minor scale, the natural minor scale, that constitutes that's the natural minor scale, right? It can be thought of as a minor tetrachord and a Phrygian tetrachord all together. Here's the harmonic minor, and here's the melodic minor, but this upper part is a major tetrachord. Okay? I'm gonna write that a little differently just to make that a little bit clearer. So those 3 minor scales, okay, have one thing in common. They all have the minor tetrachord at the as the first 4 notes, okay? And then depending on which scale you want to make, you slap on one of the others. So you slap on the Phrygian or the major or we're going to call that harmonic, okay? But this or this or this, but they all have the lower and upper notes of the tetrachord in common, and that's your minor one down there, okay? And if you know all those tetrachord groups, so here's a good way to practice your scales, all right? I think I'm the only one who teaches this, but if you're learning scales, start with groups of 4 notes, okay? And rather than trying to do the whole scale, like C major, okay, which is it's hard. I mean, 4 notes are easier than 8 notes, okay? Do 4 notes, right? Then do the minor, then do the Phrygian, then do the harmonic, and just get those in your hand, right? And then go up a 5th and start that procedure again. G major, G minor, G Phrygian, G harmonic, right? That's, right? Then go up a fifth again, right? And major, minor, Phrygian, harmonic, right? And up a fifth again to A. All right, I'm going to go down here so it sounds a little better. Major, minor, Phrygian, harmonic. Go up a fifth and do the major, minor, Phrygian, and the harmonic, and go up a fifth again. Whole, half, right? Minor. I took the middle note and lowered it a half step. Okay, I took the middle note. Major, right? Took the middle note, lowered it a half step. Then I took this note and lowered it a half step. These notes stayed the same the whole time. And then I raised this up. Major, minor, Phrygian, harmonic. And then go up to 5. Perfect fifth is the fifth note in the major scale. Major, minor, Phrygian, harmonic. They all have a very similar feel, okay? Go up 5 notes to C sharp or D flat. C sharp or D flat can be spelled in more than one way. And we go major, minor, Phrygian, harmonic. And go up 5 notes to A flat. There's no key of G sharp major, just A flat, minor, Phrygian, harmonic. Go up 5 notes to E flat, major, minor, Phrygian, harmonic, and go up 5 notes to B flat, and we'll go down here, major, minor, Phrygian, harmonic, and go up 5 notes in B flat to F, major, minor, Phrygian, harmonic. And then you go back up 5 notes and you're back to C again, okay? So you went through 12 major scales, right? There are 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 notes in our chromatic scale. The octave is divided into 12 equal parts, 12 semitones, half steps, and there are, on the keyboard, displays them kind of as in black and white, the 5 black keys and the 7 white keys, which make 12. And there are 12 major tetrachords, there are 12 Phrygian, there are 12 harmonic, there are 12 minor, but they all have something in common. They all have this perfect fourth. They're all bound by that perfect fourth, okay? And then you start to put them together like Lego, okay? So you go major, major. That's a major scale. Major, major. And you recycle the one you learned. So every time you learn a major scale, you are in effect learning half of 2 other scales, all right? So they connect, they dovetail together. If I want to play a minor scale, well, the first 4 notes of the 3 minor scales we discussed, harmonic, melodic, and natural, all have the same 4 notes, okay? Phrygian, that's natural minor. That's major, that's melodic minor. That's the harmonic minor tetrachord, that's harmonic minor scale, right? You need to know these things. You really do. You just have to. Now, there are other kinds of tetrachords. As we discussed earlier, sometimes tetrachords, maybe they could have more than 4 notes. They could have 5 notes, as we discussed. Still bound by the perfect fourth. It's not really, just because it has 5 notes, I wouldn't really call it a pentachord. That's a pentachord because it's bound by a perfect fifth. But I can still consider that a tetrachord because of the perfect fourth. And the meow 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 meow. Remember that? Remember that cat food commercial? Meow 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 meow. I'm getting silly now. So we started out by saying when you're learning, okay, stuff's hard, okay? It's just hard, all right? But it's not, it's easier than you think, okay? It's very simple, right? There's 4 things to know. I kind of say that, simple things are not necessarily easy, and easy things aren't simple, right? People try to simplify things. There are easy beginning books and easy this and easy that, and they're not easy because you're still learning by rote. Anytime you learn by rote mechanically, that's hard, okay? Yeah, there's a certain amount of that that you have to do, but you have to think conceptually. You have to start to understand what you're doing. They're not just notes. You need to get past that. You have to understand relationships. You have to understand intervals, perfect fourths and fifths, half steps and whole steps, augmented seconds. You have to understand relationships of notes, because if you do, you really ultimately will simplify the task of learning, okay? And learning in groups of 4, what does it do? It makes it manageable, and it makes it meaningful, because just doing this, I mean, that has meaning, or this, but not as much as this, all right? And it almost sounds to our ears like we want something else. Remember the Addams Family? Oh. That was kind of behind the Addams Family theme, the little tetrachord. Perfect fourth. Here comes the bride. 1, 5, 1. That's the perfect fourth. That's how musicians learn things, okay? We try to associate these intervals with common melodies. Whew, okay, we did a lot of stuff today. So if you have questions, or if you don't have questions, or if you have complaints, or if you happen to see a piece of spinach in my teeth and you say, take that piece of spinach off. Remember that with Rosanna Dana? Anyway, head over to the piano lesson and send me a note, okay? And I'm going to get going. So you guys take care of yourselves. Practice, and good time to tune your pianos now that we're turning off the heat and we're going to get into the summer. When the weather changes and it starts to stabilize, it's a good time to think about tuning your pianos, okay? All right, friends, good to talk to you. Wish you well. See you soon. This is Jonathan Eder, and this is the Piano Lesson.